welcome back. This is DS Yvonne at reprogrammingmind.com, and today we're going to talk about Chapter 2 of the book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Now, Chapter 2 is called Overcoming Your Environment. Now, if I were to pick one sentence from that chapter, it would be this: to change, be greater than your environment. Okay, so let's begin to unpack this. So in Chapter 2, he says, every time you respond to your familiar reality by recreating the same mind, that is, turning on the same nerve cells to make the brain work in the same way, you hardwire your brain to match the customary conditions in your personal reality, be they good or bad. And there is a principle in neuroscience called Hebb's law, and it basically states that nerve cells that fire together wire together. Hebb's credo demonstrates that if you repeatedly activate the same nerve cells, then each time they turn on, it will be easier for them to fire in unison again. Eventually, those neurons will develop a long-term relationship. And then he has a little one here with a footnote, which takes us to the references that he's using for this chapter. Now, he only references one book, but the book that he picks is called The Organization of Behavior by D.O. Hebb. Now, this is a groundbreaking book that set forth the theory that the only way to explain behavior was in terms of brain function. Now, this comes from Donald Olding Hebb. Now, he had mixed his understanding of brain surgery with the study of human behavior, and together he brought these two realms of human perception under this one book, The Organization of Behavior. Now, the forceful ideas that Hebb wrote in 1949 are now applied in engineering, robotics, computer science, as well as neurophysiology, neuroscience, and psychology. And to this day, there's all kinds of continual references towards Hebbian cell assembly, the Hebb synapse, Hebb rule, Hebbian learning. So I just want to quote one sentence from his book, The Organization of Behavior, where he says, an excited neuron tends to decrease its discharge to inactive neurons and to increase this discharge to any active neuron, and therefore to form a route to it, whether there are intervening neurons between the two or not. With repetition, this tendency is preponderant in the formation of neural roots. In other words, this is the powerful way for neural roots to be formed. Now let's back away from this for a moment and contextualize this. Now let's say that you had to tell a joke. Now in one room there is a room full of people that are in a nightclub and they're laughing and giggling already, and they've been to that nightclub 20 times before. Now you got to tell a joke to them. Now imagine you also had to tell that joke to somebody that was sitting in a dentist's chair. Okay, so it could be the exact same joke, same delivery, and your wonderful timing and your impeccable delivery. Now, if you tell it in the one room, there's a great likelihood people will laugh. But if you tell it in the dentist room, there's a great probability that they're not going to laugh as much. If anything, they might feel more tense and stress. And if you can agree with that, then it's because that people have learned to be able to take what they were feeling, they link it and learn it towards their environment. And now one of the key functions of the brain for maximizing predictive power is being able to find patterns and create these neural roots in order to speed up learning. Well, the challenge is that we've learned ways to be having a personality that's not really conducive towards creating the life that you want or the person that you are. And it's not your fault, it's your brain. So let's bring it back to Dr. Joe's book here, where he says, we could say that the environment is actually controlling your mind. Since the neuroscientific definition of mind is the brain in action, you repeatedly reproduce the same level of mind by reminding yourself who you think you are in reference to the outside world. And so your identity becomes defined by everything outside of you, because you identify with all of the elements that make up your external world, right? So, I feel happy because I'm in a comedy club. I feel stressed because I'm in a dentist chair. Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, we have a mind. We are steering the bus after all. So this is why you've got to be overcoming your environment and any type of Hebbian learning that's occurred along the way. All right, so let's continue here. So to change, you've got to be greater than your environment. And so now this is how Dr. Joe explains Hebbian learning. He says, the more you fire the same circuits by reacting to your external life, the more you'll wire your brain to be equal to your personal world. You'll become neurochemically attached to the conditions in your life. In time, you'll begin to think in the box because your brain will fire circuits that creates a very specific mental signature called your personality. Now, if you keep installing, reinforcing, and refining your neurological hardware, the end result of that repetition is a neural network, in effect, a new software program. Just like computer software, this program, for example, a behavior or an attitude or an emotional state, now runs automatically, just like the way you would feel when you sit into a dentist chair or the way you'd feel when you walk into a comedy club. So in a sense, your identity becomes defined by everything outside of you because you identify with all of the elements that make up your external world. So one of the big challenges a person will have is that they'll just continually look at what is. They'll look at the problem that they're in or the environment that they're in and keep thinking that that is reality. That's how it is. And so they keep reminding themselves in that way and conditioning themselves to believe in that. When the solution is to be able to overcome that environment by thinking outside of that environment. And then he gives a couple of references. In this instance, he talks about Gandhi, and he says he believed in a future that he could not yet see or experience with his senses, but which was so alive in his mind that he could not live any other way. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza mentions other people such as Joan of Arc and Thomas Edison, Martin Luther King. And he says, in fact, they were all completely unrealistic, and so were their dreams. The event they were embracing in thought, action, and emotion was not realistic because the reality had not yet occurred. The ignorant and the cynical might also have said their vision was nonsense, and such naysayers would have been right. A vision of reality was nonsense. It existed in a reality beyond the senses. So if you're looking to be breaking the habit of being yourself, then one of the things that is crucial is to be able to unlearn that Hebbian learning that you have been discovering as you've been conditioning yourself to be responding to your environment in the same old ways. Well, to be able to live your life and create the new habit of being the new, informed, better you, then it requires breaking the habit of being yourself. And this demands you to change by being greater than your environment. Right, well, I hope this helps, and this was my synopsis of Chapter 2, Overcoming Your Environment, from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And if you enjoyed this video, perhaps you'd like to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down or share it. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the future here at reprogrammingmind.com. Bye for now.